Good evening, Sports Zonians. How's everybody doing out there tonight? I am Mike Aglioloro. I am your host for this is Sports Zone. Coming to you live like we do each and every week here via the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Radio Network. We got a good show for you tonight. We'll be joined by Dave Hastings in a matter of moments. Hopefully we get our wrestler on tonight as well. We got a good amount to talk about tonight. We got some basketball to talk about. Got a little bit of football to throw in there. We're probably going to be talking a good amount of baseball because Bryce Harper did finally sign a long-awaited contract. Unfortunately, it was with the Philadelphia Phillies. 13 years, $330 million. Just an obscene amount of years. Like, I know Giancarlo Stanton got 13 years a few years ago, but also had an opt-out clause in there. Harper's contract doesn't come with any sort of opt-out clause. It doesn't come with comes with a no trade clause as well. So the Phillies are going to be on the hook for this for 13 years. And as I say, $330 million. Not an obscene amount in terms of how much they will be paying annually. It's still a ridiculous amount, but you think about it. He gets $10 million for this year. He gets $20 million in signing bonus. $26 million for the years 2020 through 2028, and then $22 million in years 2029 and 2031. And I'm already sick and tired of hearing people say that his contract will be up and the Mets will still be paying Bobby Bonilla for 4 years after that. I'm so sick of hearing about the Bobby Bonilla deal. I really am. And the reason why Harper didn't sign with the Washington Nationals because they offered him, I think it was 10 years, $300 million. A lot of that money would have been deferred, and it would have been paying Bryce Harper until he was 62. Shut the hell up, cousin David. I see you in there. How you doing, buddy? So I'm just so sick of it. Harper would have taken the Nationals deal that they had offered him. It would have been deferred money, and he would have been being paid until he was 62 years old. I don't know about you, but I wish I had that type of financial security in there until I was 62. That would have been nice. But Harper didn't want that. He wanted the money up front, and that's why he didn't take the Nationals deal. And he held out, and he held out, and he held out, and he got $330 million for 13 years. And I got to be honest here. I said this a few weeks ago, and I say it again. I look at the NL East, and I don't see a clear-cut favorite for the division. I see four teams that all have the capability of being the division champions if everything breaks right for them. And that holds true even with the Phillies having signed Bryce Harper. Because here's the deal. Dude's going to be 26 years old this year. Everyone's like, what has he done? He's never won anything. All right, he's never won anything. He's never been he's never had he's won an MVP, but he hasn't had that one great season. But he's still young enough where he could be one of the best team players in baseball. But you look at what the Nationals did with him, and they were famous for having these great teams and choking in the postseason. So there's no guarantee for the Phillies either. But let's bring in Dave Hastings. Dave Hastings is with us here tonight. Dave, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good, Mike. Doing good. How about yourself?
All right. We're not going to talk about this that long, but as a non-baseball fan, I'm sure you heard about the Bryce Harper contract that he signed last week. 13 years, $330 million. Did you have any thoughts when you heard this?
I mean, that's one fucking ludicrous contract. Excuse my language. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I mean, I understand it's not even actually the highest per year average.
Right.
It's just longest. which I kind of thought was ironic for how long we waited for this to happen. I kind of thought you would expect him to have the highest per year average. So I was kind of shocked by that, just, thought with that part. And I mean, every time we've talked about these contracts, I constantly come back to the same point with you guys. And it's always to the fact that baseball players are making all this guaranteed money. NBA players make almost all of their contracts guaranteed. NHL players, almost all of their contracts are guaranteed. And you look at the NFL, and it's like these guys are fighting for, a 5-year deal with maybe $60 million guaranteed, and that's what, $12 million a year. And most of these guys, even average players in these other leagues, make that much, if not more money. So it's kind of crazy. I don't know. Like, that's kind of where my mind goes. But at the same time, like, congratulations to the dude. I mean, he's a young star in the league. He's one of the faces of the league. I mean, MLB's video game already put him on the cover in a Phillies jersey, and all that fun stuff. But I mean, at the same time, being the guy from Jersey, I don't know why you'd want to move to Philly. I don't know. I just don't see that one.
Well, he definitely held out for a long time. So I think at the very least, you had heard rumors that he didn't want to go to Philly either. So I don't think you're that far off in that assessment there. And as you brought up, the longest contract in Major League Baseball history, Giancarlo Stanton also signed for a 13-year deal, $325 million. That has an opt-out clause, and I think that opt-out comes in about 2 or 3 years. I can't remember off the top of my head.
5 years. I remember that. It was 5 years.
Yeah, but was it 5 years from last year or this year? Because I don't think it's 5 years anymore.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. My bad. I'm thinking of the other big name that signed his contract this offseason.
Oh, you talking about Machado?
Yeah, he got his opt-out in 5 years. That was the other thing about Harper. I was shocked he didn't do an opt-out. He, literally said he didn't want one. I'm like, bro, it's Philly.
Well, I think that comes from more of him realizing, especially with the fact that the collective bargaining agreement is going to be up in a couple of years, him seeing the landscape of the way everything went with the contracts this year, I think he realizes this is his one big payday. So,
hey,
yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Make that money.
Yeah, but no opt-out clause, and it has a no trade clause. So whereas the Marlins signed Stanton, and they were at least thinking, hey, if he does well, he'll opt out, and we don't have to deal with it. Now, the Phillies are going to be stuck with this deal, whether he's good or bad, for the entirety of the contract. So that part, if he don't win a championship in the next 5 years, the city of Philly will completely destroy him, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, that Philly media, they don't hold back.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if they don't hold back, the fans don't hold back.
And they attacked Santa Claus.
Yeah. I mean, come on. And they have a statue of a make-believe character in front of a museum.
Hey, you leave Rocky out of it.
I'm not making fun of Rocky. I'm just pointing out what Philly is.
There's nothing wrong with Rocky. All right, Rocky is a national treasure. I don't care if he's a fictional character. All right, I'm just saying it's one of the only good things Philadelphia ever produced.
I love Rocky. I love all the Rocky movies. Well, other than the one with whatever the last.
Yeah, no, Rocky. No, you're talking about Rocky 5 with Tommy Morrison. Yeah, absolutely. We could spend a whole hour on that, but anyway, getting off this just to give a shout to what my cousin David's saying in the chat room. If he hadn't accepted that deal, the MLB players would have been talking about striking. The deal, along with Manny Machado, corrected the market. See, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. Like, I get the point he's making. But the truth is, you still have a lot of quality Major League caliber players that don't have contracts. So, yeah, the two biggest stars on the market got paid. But you have a lot of the second and third tier players still waiting for contracts. I mean, one of the top pitchers on the market was Dallas Keuchel. He still hasn't signed a contract. Craig Kimbrell, top closer on the market. He still doesn't have a contract. So, yeah, your stars got paid, but you still have a lot of the other rank and file guys who haven't gotten anything either. So it alleviates some. I don't think it completely takes the stress off of the next collective bargaining negotiations. Any thoughts on that, Dave, before we move
Well, I definitely see your cousin's point, but I
on?
mean, when it's really all said and done, the owners in baseball and the other leagues see what they're doing in the NFL, and they're like, we can make a lot more money.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like- I really think that's kind of what it'll all come down to. When you have billionaires versus millionaires, the billionaires win. That's just how it works.
Yeah, and I think, but me and Eric have said this before. I mean, outside of the Harper and the Machado deal, um, outside of these two deals, you have seen a trend towards ownership not really wanting the long-term deals anymore because they've gotten burned with them so many times in the past. So these Machado and Harper deals, these are anomalies. And I think a lot of the players are still holding out hope that they can get the longer-term deals, the longer year deals, and the owners just don't want to do that anymore because of the inherent risk that comes with like both these Machado and Harper. Yeah, they're both 26 years old. So they're younger than the average major league free agent that's out there now. And that's the only reason why they get these deals. But the other ones, I mean, there's such a risk that comes with even with these guys. There's a risk that comes with these long-term deals too.
Well, yeah, anytime you commit to anything long-term, no matter what, it's a risk. That's for sure.
Yeah. So. All right, so that'll start off the show here, and we are hoping to be joined by Eric Tressler at some point tonight. But before we are, what stuck out to you this week, Dave?
Well, I mean, over the weekend, not much. I'm more looking kind of into the franchise tags that were done today, the franchise tags that weren't done today. I'm excited for UNC versus Duke on Saturday night. I mean, the tape that people are starting to get on LeBron and his lack of effort and care in the league. I mean, I can go in any of these directions.
You want to start with franchise tags? We'll start with the franchise tags. That's a good one.
All right. Well, yeah, you got Clowney getting tagged in Houston. You got D Ford getting tagged in Kansas City. You had DeMarcus Lawrence get tagged for a second year in a row. I mean, those are some of the bigger names that come to mind right away.
Yeah, I'm looking at the list right now. We got 6 players. You got defensive tackle Grady Jarrett by the Falcons for $15.2 million. Ford, like you said, gets $15.443 million. Lawrence is at $20.5 million. Clowney is at almost $16 million. Frank Clark, defensive end for the Seahawks, at $17 million, and the kicker Robbie Gould at $5 million for the 49ers. Like, here's the thing. I think Lawrence, I don't think anybody's really surprised they give him the franchise tag for the second year in a row. Same thing with Ford. Clowney. Now, I understand they kind of had to do it, but the $15 million, like Clowney has only recently really started to kind of hit his stride when he's been on the field. But I think Clowney's been really a question mark for his first few seasons in the league. And at $15 million, I think that's just a lot to give a guy, even for 1 year, given how erratic he's really been through his young career so far.
Well, I mean, I won't argue with what you're saying about what he's done throughout his career so far, but $15 million for what he can do and what he has shown flashes of in the NFL, yeah, you kind of make that move when your other option is franchise tagging the Honey Badger at safety for $11 million. So I mean it's I don't think it's that bad for Clowney, and it's his first tag. Exactly like your cousin just said, you give him the tag on another year. You try to work out a deal that you think is fair, but if you can't find one, then you have him play on the tag and have him prove a year to either give him a contract the following year or let him go and make his money in free agency.
I'll say this thus far, and this might be one you disagree with me on, but I think through this point in both their careers, I'd say the Honey Badgers actually done more on the field than Clowney has at this point. Maybe not for the Texans, but definitely those years he was with the Cardinals. I think he produced a hell of a lot more than Clowney has.
Yeah, he had some good moments, but he missed probably just as many, if not more, games than Clowney.
I don't know if it was that. I mean, I could be wrong. It definitely doesn't feel like it was as many as Clowney.
Well, you got to keep in mind, he missed all of the season before last.
Okay.
He got hurt in like the second game of the year, third game of the year, and missed the whole year. That's why Arizona didn't re-sign him.
Okay.
Well, one of the reasons. But either way, I mean, look, I got to be honest. I'm a little worried about the tag on DeMarcus Lawrence. I mean, that guy's given everything to this team. I'm actually a huge fan of his, and I mean, not only his ability to get to the passer, but his ability to play against the run is something else, man. And I think you got to pay the man. I really do. They have the money to do it. I think you got to pay him because I think he's one of the leaders of that defense. And if you end up cutting Sean Lee, you're gonna want that leader. So I personally think that you got to pay the man, and you figure out the rest from there. Byron Jones, I would have tagged him personally, but.
Well, I think that also comes down to they have so many guys that they have to pay, whether it's Prescott, Elliott, Jones, like you said, Cooper. Refresh my memory because I'm blanking right now. Did they sign? They signed Zach Martin to a deal?
Martin, Frederick, and Tyron Smith are all signed for the next 4 years, and Martin's for the next 5.
Okay. All right. So that's one more guy that they don't have to sign. But they just off the 4 guys that I named before that, they have a lot of guys they need to sign. And like you said, they have plenty of cap space. I think this might have been a case where they're going to try to pay those 4 first, and maybe Lawrence gets his deal next
year. Yeah, they're not. They can't play that game with Lawrence. They can't. He'll hold out. He really will, and he's an important piece of that defense, and he will hold out. With Randy Gregory getting suspended, I mean, they literally have basically no depth at defense end. You got Taco Charlton, you got Tyrone Crawford, and Darren Armstrong, and that's it. So you got to keep in mind they're also losing David Irving this offseason.
Yeah.
He's not going to be back, even though he didn't play all year anyway, but still, he's not going to be back. So you got to sign Lawrence. He's earned the deal. He played on the tag last year, no problems, no complaining, showed up to camp, was a team player. He's earned his contract. And like, the one thing that drives me nuts, you see all these people say, oh, you can't pay him too much money. How many NFL teams wish that their biggest problem was the off season that came when they had a lot of cap room was an off season where they had to decide on how many of their first and second round draft picks over the last 5-6 years that they've taken they want to sign. Like, how many NFL teams have that problem?
That is a good problem to have.
That's my point. So you keep the guys that you have there together as long as you can. That stuff matters in football. It just does. They trust each other. They trust each other more. It's a whole freaking thing, and I really think that's something that they got to keep as many as they can. I hate to say it, but out of all the free agents that they got coming up this offseason, to me, Cole Beasley's the one that most likely is going to be the odd man out, and I like Cole Beasley. I really do, but I just think he's the odd man out.
Yeah, and that worries me a little bit because I look at Cole Beasley, like, I get he's not a superstar receiver. He's not a number 1. Nothing even close to that. But I look at him and I see our version of Wayne Corbett, that gritty, the guy who's in the trenches and everything, the guy you want on the field on third downs and stuff like that. I really look at him as our version of Wayne Corbett there, and I do not want to see him play for another team. I don't think it would be good for him to go to another team because I don't think another team would utilize him nearly as well as we have. And I don't think it would be good for us because I don't see anybody who would really be able to replace him currently on our roster.
Well, that's the problem, though. We don't utilize him.
I mean,
he was basically irrelevant for 13 out of 16 games this season. Now, don't get me wrong. I get it. You're changing offensive coordinator, so yeah, you would expect that to change. But you gotta admit there's a reason that they were willing to bring Witten back. I think leadership was a huge part of it. But I also think the fact of the matter is a lot of times when they use Cole Beasley, it was for those little 3 to 5 yard routes, which Jason Witten is great at, and I still would assume he's pretty damn good at it. So, I mean, I don't want to see Beasley go, but I think when it comes down to what they're going to do with their money, not only this offseason, but planning for the next offseason with having to figure out how to sign Zeke, you can't. He's just not going to – they're not going to be able to afford him.
Well, I would like to see them try to find a way. I think you might be right, though. I think he will wind up leaving. But you brought up a good point there, something that I had forgotten to bring up. So I'm working the day it happened, and Cousin David actually texts me, Jason Witten re-signs with the Cowboys. And my immediate reaction, and I want to know if you had the same one, was why? Because in my opinion, like, I love Jason Witten as much as anybody. We talked about whether or not he's a Hall of Famer. I kind of thought he was at the end of his career anyway. The shock wasn't that he retired. The shock was kind of that it was so sudden that he retired. And I just, like, from everything we've heard, he's going to play like 25 snaps a game. Like you said, they do it for the locker room presence. They do it to kind of mentor the tight ends. But overall, I don't really think he's going to have that big of an impact on the team this year. So what do you think about that?
When I found out, I was very indifferent about it. I really was just kind of like, yay, I love Jason Witten, and why the hell are you doing this when you can get somebody like – the biggest problem that Dallas had with their tight ends is not having a vertical threat down the middle of the field. And then you bring a guy that nobody's going to be worried about beating them down the middle of the field. So I was just like, I didn't get that. But at the same time, to me, it's almost like you signed him to be a coach, but he didn't want to coach yet and he wanted to play.
Yeah.
That basically, to me, is what this is. And he'll go out there for some plays, probably like goal line, sets and play actions and, little things like that. But he's not going to scare a defense.
No.
So that's the part I don't really get, is he will bring no fear to any defensive coordinator in the entire league. None. No team in the NFL was like, oh, crap, Dallas signed Jason Witten again. Like, no. Nobody was thinking that. So I was indifferent about it, and I still am. It is what it is. I mean, if he plays, I hope he can help the team win. And if he doesn't play, I hope he still can help the team win. So it'll be what it'll be. One cool stat I thought somebody pointed out, though, was that he called 9 of the 16 or 15 Monday night games he called were against Dallas opponents this coming season. So, I don't know if being in the booth helps, but maybe it does. So we'll see. But, yeah, I'm just indifferent about it. I'm not upset about it. I'm not amped about it. It's just one of those where you're like, all right, well, it'd be like if you told me DeMarcus Ware was coming back. I'd be like, all right, I'm cool with that. As long as you're not breaking the bank and you want to let him play a couple snaps a game, I'm cool with that.
Yeah. Yeah, well said. I agree with you on that. Like, my other reaction to it was, wow, he must have really taken all the criticism from people saying he wasn't Tony Romo in the booth to heart, man. Wow. I couldn't – that just made me think that. It's like, again, if he's not happy in the Monday Night Football role, okay, fine. Just, I think indifferent was a good word for it. I think that works for me too.
And he did suck in the booth. I'm sorry. He was not good in the booth.
I didn't hear enough of him to really make a decision on that, but I will take your word on that one. So, But I never really saw him as a commentator to begin with. Like, there was nothing about how, like, no interview that I ever saw ever made me feel like he could be a commentator. Like, now, I'm not saying I really thought that about Romo either, but I think it made a little more sense with Romo than it did with.
Well, yeah, you always feel like a quarterback makes more sense in the booth than any other position just because they know the game better.
Yeah.
And that's not a knock on other players. It's just the quarterback's job to know everybody's assignment.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just how it works. So, I mean, I just I don't know. He wasn't the right fit for it, or at least not ready for it. I guess at worst.
Yeah. There you go. Mm-hmm. There you go.
Yeah. I mean, other than that, though, man, I really think the Witten thing could be good for Dallas on a leadership side of things, and you know that level.
Mm.
But outside of that, I think that's the biggest impact he has is more on a leadership end.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And if this leads to something like him being a coach in the future, I'd be okay with that. You know, I like him being a mentor for the tight ends because I thought the tight ends that you had, what was it, the kid Blake Jerwin came on in those last couple of games. I think he could be something decent, and having someone like Witten to kind of learn from, I think that could only help him. So I did like it from that standpoint. It's just like we kind of already said. I don't really think this is going to have too much of an impact in terms of him on the field. It's interesting, though, if this would have happened earlier last season when they were really struggling to get anything from their receivers, I think it would have had a bigger impact like week 3 or week 4 of last season than it does right now.
Well, yeah, but that's also because you're in the thick of things, and they were 1-2 or 1-3.
And you didn't have Amari Cooper yet, so yeah. So, all right. Looking at the guys who didn't get franchised, Landon Collins doesn't get franchised, and I think the one that at this point we kind of knew wasn't going to happen. Nick Foles, the Eagles do not franchise him, and we're already hearing that Foles is going to wind up signing with Jacksonville next week. Now, we know what Foles has done with the Eagles the last couple seasons. We know what Jacksonville can be if they get any sort of decent quarterback play. I got to be honest, I see this matchup, and I see what Foles would be replacing. Foles is better than Bortles. I'm not trying to say he's not. Is he really that much of an improvement, though, when you see what Foles was before the last couple seasons with the Eagles? Because to me, the danger is you sign Foles thinking that he could be half of what he was with the Eagles the last 2 seasons, and then he becomes the journeyman that he was before that.
Yeah, I would be petrified of that. I mean, because that to me is my expectation.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's one of those things where he really benefited from Doug Peterson's coaching style and, you know, the plays that he called and the offense that he ran. And, you know, does he have the ability to be successful in Jacksonville? Yeah. I mean, that defense, all they need is a quarterback they believe in.
Mm.
I mean, if you think about it, it's not like they just had a couple close losses early in the year, all mainly due to lack of performance by Bortles, and by the middle of the year they gave up. And that's kind of one of the things you're looking at is if Foles can play good enough that defense believes they can win, that team has the ability to win a lot of games.
Yep. No, I agree with you on that. And my other worry, and I don't know how much of a concern this really is, but if I'm the Jaguars, I'm holding out hope that Eli winds up parting ways with the Giants this offseason. And if you sign a guy like Nick Foles, and then all of a sudden 2, 3, maybe next month, let's say the Giants decide to take a risk and take one of the quarterbacks available in the draft, and they decide to part ways with Manning. Well, you've already ruled yourself out of any potential sweepstakes there by committing to Foles for at least the next couple of seasons. And in my opinion, if I'm the Jack, I don't think this is a big statement anyway, but obviously you're taking Eli Manning over Nick Foles at this point, even though Eli is older. You've seen what he can do with less. I mean, he's not as good as he was 5 or 6 years ago, but in my opinion, you'd still take Eli over Foles. So I don't know if I would rush to take a guy like Foles right now before letting this offseason kind of play out a little bit to see who else kind of emerges as a candidate later in the offseason around that draft.
Well, it depends on how desperately you want him. I mean, if they believe they can win with him and he's the right fit, I mean, don't get me wrong. We all know Coughlin loves Eli, and it sounded like a match made in heaven, and it's kind of what I expected to have happen after this season, especially with the Giants having another bad year. But Giants decided they wanted to ride with Eli for another year, so by all means, they're going to ride with Eli, and it is what it is, and the Jaguars won't have the opportunity to get him if he wasn't staying with the Giants, but he's going to stay with the Giants. They're not going to cut, I mean, the worst thing that happens to Eli this year is the Giants start, 0-7, 0-8, and that rookie quarterback they drafted, they throw him in so he can start playing some games.
Yeah, it's possible. Even though it doesn't look like it's going to be Haskins, because apparently he showed up overweight at the combine, and was overthrowing receivers left and right, from what I heard. So it doesn't look like it's going to be him. But here's an idea I just kind of came up with. You tell me if you would do it or not. Rather than signing Nick Foles, you could always do what the Jets did last year. You take a guy like Teddy Bridgewater, who's going to be a free agent again. He has experience starting. I still think he's got something left in the tank as a starting NFL quarterback. You bring him in. At the worst, you have a competition between him and Bortles in training camps. And then if something emerges where a better candidate comes out later in the offseason, you can bring in that better candidate, and all you've really done is relegated Bridgewater to a backup, and then you cut Bortles. Good time.
I mean, I don't think that's a horrible idea, but the NFL's what have you done for me lately? And Nick Foles has done a lot more than Teddy Bridgewater has lately. So I get your point. I don't think it's a bad idea. I just that's not something I could ever see. If they really want Foles, they're gonna go get Foles.
True.
And Bortles is gonna be relegated to a backup quarterback, as he should be, because honestly, he's a guy to me that could easily come in and fill in if your star quarterback got hurt and help you win a game. Maybe play 2 or 3 games and not, ruin your wins. But when it comes down to being a starting quarterback, that's just Jacksonville experimented long enough, and it's time to move on. Even if it is giving Foles like a 3-year, $75 million deal.
Like I said, it was just a thought. I think you might be right on that one, but it would be interesting because I still would like to see Bridgewater get another shot as a starting quarterback. Yeah.
I think he's going to. I think you're going to see at least 1 or 2 teams out there that, even if they have a rookie quarterback, they'll bring Bridgewater in and see if he can win the job.
Yeah.
So I still think you see that.
Yeah. Here's the one thing. What did you think about the Demaryius Thomas thing from over the weekend? Because I guess he got involved in a car accident. He got charged with vehicular assault or something over the weekend.
I honestly have no idea.
Okay, then we won't talk about that. The one thing we did not talk about, we don't have to spend much time on this. We can keep going. Joe Flacco is now a member of the Denver Broncos. I don't think we had a chance to discuss that one. He's going to be the starting quarterback this year. What did you think about this? I mean, it's pretty obvious Case Keenum was a failure as a starting quarterback. Pretty obvious on that one. So they bring in Flacco. How much do you think this moves the needle for the Broncos here?
I mean, look, I think Flacco's the perfect kind of quarterback to play in Denver. I mean, with his arm strength, he could probably throw 70 yards in that field.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
And he's played in Baltimore, so he's used to bad weather. He's used to cold. He's used to wind. He's used to all of that. I don't actually think it's a bad move by Denver to see if you can. I mean, we've seen Flacco play. We've seen him win a Super Bowl. The guy doesn't suck. He's just He
bland.
honestly kind of reminds me of fucking Eli Manning. I mean, he's good enough to win if he has a nice cast around him and a good defense, because he's good at play action and he's usually smart with not turning over the ball. So I don't think it's a bad move, but to me, the real thing with Denver is how many weapons do they really have on offense? They've been so heavily vested on the defensive side of the ball that it's like they don't have much on the offensive end. So, yeah, you got the undrafted rookie running back, or, well, now going to be his second-year running back, and I believe Philip Lindsay, I believe.
Yeah, I could kind of name their weapons. To me, they got three of them. You got Lindsey, who's more of the versatile running back. I think he was actually a fifth-round pick. I think both him and Royce Freeman were fifth-round picks. I could be wrong on that, though.
No, Lindsey, the running back that had the great year for them this year was undrafted.
Oh, okay. I thought they were both fifth-round picks. I apologize for that one. And then you still got Emmanuel Sanders at wide receiver, but that's all you really got at receiver, and you don't really have a good tight end.
So yeah, that's my point. I mean, they need weapons, but I think Flacco's a good fit for that team and for that city because they are so heavily vested in defense, and he's used to playing in conditions like he would experience in Baltimore, and he's got a strong arm that really can sail the ball. I mean, come on, in his Super Bowl run, he had that huge Hail Mary to help them win the game to get, help get to the Super Bowl. Like, he's a good fit for that city. So I don't have a problem with it. It's not like they gave up a first-round pick or multiple first and second-round picks. I mean, I don't think it's a bad move at all.
Yeah, it makes more sense than giving Case Keenum the contract they gave him last year, even though it wasn't ridiculous. I think they paid him $40 million over 2 seasons, but to give him that for career journeyman, Flacco's much more of a proven commodity. I think, like you said, if you add another receiver or another tight end to the mix, give him a little bit more to work at, maybe do a little bit more with that offensive line, Denver's a playoff team next year, no doubt. So you got that. Now, we got a little under 7 minutes left. I want to switch to basketball here. So you brought up everything with LeBron James last week. And I want to talk about the Celtics this week because now you got one more player speaking out in the media about the bad environment and frustrations in the locker room. You got Jaylen Brown. Earlier today, I'm looking on hoopsrumors.com. Saying the environment around the team is toxic. And you've had Irving voicing frustrations. You had Marcus Morris speaking out about the club not having any fun last month. Marcus Smart said that the team is just not together. It's funny because Cousin David, before the season started, said that the Celtics need to trade Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward because there's not going to be enough for all the players who developed and helped lead the Celtics on that postseason run they made last season. Yeah, I know you said that, Cousin David. That's why I just said it. Thank you. But it's funny. You look at all this, and I always thought he was kind of crazy for saying it. It looks like, in hindsight, he may have been onto something there. What do you think?
Well, I mean, they're obviously not getting what they expected to get out of either one of them. I mean, Kyrie Irving, he's starting to fall right in that same category as Durant. Well, I didn't do this so I could have the cameras in my face and all that. You're younger than me, and I've known my entire life that if you ever made it to a professional athlete level, you're going to have cameras in your face and reporters asking you questions, and that's just how it is. I don't understand why they have such – I get it. It's frustrating. It's annoying. But bottom line is it really only happens to you when you're doing your job. So it's part of your job. Accept it. Deal with it. Keep your mouth shut and go play ball. You're not – I don't mean to sound – almost like, hey, you're getting paid to perform, but you're getting paid to perform. You're just like a fucking actor or actress. Difference is you play a sport. So you go out there, you make millions and millions of dollars because people pay their hard-earned money where they go do a job where people talk down on them, put them down, make messes they got to clean up, so on and so forth. They pay their hard-earned money to go watch you play. So man up and deal with it.
I would also say, part of me wants to agree with them because the media doesn't focus entirely on everything, just on the court, and that kind of goes to your point of you're paid to play. Yes, you're paid to play. The media can be a bit invasive, but I also think part of that they bring on themselves with a lot of the stuff they do. Irving, I mean, you can say what you want. Him and Durant talking at the All-Star game could have just been an exchange among friends that they were kind of blowing up. But it's like you're doing that in front of you know a camera is watching you. Like Kevin Durant said everything in his little tirade against the media. Basically you swerved your team in the Thunder. You left them to go to a team that already had 3 established All-Stars. What did you guys think was going to happen here? And you're constantly adding to all this speculation of where you guys are going in free agency. If you want it to be about the court, you have to work towards that and not add to all this off-court stuff. So, any comment, any rebuttal to that?
In my opinion, they're their worst enemy.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. All right, so we got a little bit under 3 minutes left to go here. Dave, I know you saw it earlier today. We are a little over a month away from Game of Thrones, and we got a full trailer today. What did you think?
I've already watched it 4 times.
I only did twice.
Yeah, I've already watched it 4 times. I mean, the scenes are from what's is apparently called the Battle of Winterfell. All I know is I was reading some of the stuff that came out of the Entertainment Weekly release that came out this week with all the different covers and inside looks at the upcoming season, and they talked about how it took over 3 months to film that one battle. It's the longest lasting battle out of from every, not a single battle that you've seen so far comes close to how long the battle lasts. I mean, the actors and actresses quotes from how, the guy that plays the Hound literally is quoted as saying, "I pray nobody ever has to do that again."
Oh wow!
I'm hyped. If you ask me what I was more excited for between this and Avengers Endgame, I don't know if I'd be able to choose the Avengers Endgame. I really don't. I am so excited for this. I think it's going to be awesome. I binge watched season 1 this past week. I just started season 2 before the show, so I got some episodes to watch to be ready and set for April 14th because I'm amped, man. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah, I can't wait either. I got to check out that Entertainment Weekly article because I haven't seen it yet. Yeah,
it's a whole magazine, dude. It's
they got the whole thing. It's not.
Yeah,
I saw the photo from it, but I haven't read anything about it. So I'm gonna check that out probably when we get off the air here. Yeah, less than a month away. A week after my mother's birthday, actually, it comes out. So we're all looking forward to that one too. So I do believe that is going to do it for us this week. So I thank you to everybody for listening. Dave Hastings, any last words?
Well, really quick, just to tie Game of Thrones in, the season premiere with sports. That Sunday is also the final round of the Masters, which is the biggest major in golf. So if you're a sports fan and a golf fan, you'll be able to watch the entire final round of the majors, have it wrap up by 7:30, maybe shower, get a quick bite to eat in you, and then I believe 9 o'clock is when Game of Thrones starts. So just to tie it in with sports, I figured I would. Other than that, always a pleasure doing this with you, Mike, and until next week, my man.
And you as well, my friend, and I am Mike Aglioloro. Thank you all for listening, and we will see y'all next week.